Looks like we are live. I think I see us on Twitch. YouTube is following. So usually, DA, like, it's been a minute. Actually, I was looking back. You were episode like 15, like, of the 1v1. Wow. This was a long time ago. This was like 3 years ago that me and you had probably spoken. So, like, how have you been? Like, how's everything been going on in Envious?
Oh man, it has been a lot of work. It's been a lot of sleepless nights. Ever since that pre-alpha 2 testing, man, I've been sleeping like 3 or 4 hours a night. And each night I tell myself I'm gonna get more sleep, but like, I mean, even last night I didn't go to bed till like 3 a.m. and I'm waking up at 7. But these are all good problems to have.
Oh, for sure. I mean, right now, this is what we all been kind of waiting for. I think for you, it's a little bit different because you were, in Phoenix Initiative, you got to see the guts and all of the early looks at everything like that. I mean, how has that transition been for you? Like, to see where the game was 3 years ago to where it is now?
It's been amazing, man. I remember doing some of the early testing, and I'm like, I don't know if this is going to be ready, but
I think a lot of people felt that way.
yeah, and Intrepid really just came out of left field with just everything ready to go. And it's been a bumpy road, but we're here. I think the reception has been pretty good, and I think a lot of people are just really enjoying the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've seen it be a little mixed. I mean, and I think that was to be expected. We've preached this, we've said this. This has been a mantra in the AOC community that this game wasn't going to be for everybody. I think the open world PvP has been a little bit of a sore spot for people, but honestly I haven't really seen it be that big of an issue on at least the server I'm playing on. Like, I've actually had a lot of people that messaged me that said they were actually worried about that aspect, but they haven't even been ganked. Like, and I thought this was the time to be ganked, really, because it's all playtest. It's all just Fugazi characters that we're going to be wiped in December 20th anyway. So I thought if people are going to be wanting to flag and do PvP just unexpectedly, this is the time. But people are actually like very invested in these like tunes that can be deleted at any time, basically, which I find to be interesting.
Absolutely. And like, even with the wipes, like, we know we're gonna wipe, but like, I mean, it's wiped in pre-alpha 2. It's wiped it's gonna wipe soon, and we're excited to just run that gauntlet again. No, for sure.
Sorry guys, I just want to let everybody know, I told DA before we got started, I have strep throat. My tonsils are extremely inflamed. I'm gonna try my best not to cough. I have water right here, but I'm gonna do my best. Well, it looks like we can just get right into the episode, DA, if you're good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's go ahead and let me just start recording a little bit, and we'll go in 3, 2, 1. Hey guys, welcome back to the 1v1 podcast. I am your host Vladis, and today I have with me a very special guest, quite infamous in the Ashes community. He is DA from the guild Envious. What is going on, my dude?
How's it going, man? Love to be back. It's been a while.
It's been too long, actually. 3 years. Yeah. I was counting. We spoke a little bit in the pre-show. I was like, man, 3 years it's been. And it's been crazy, man. Like, we were talking a little earlier about like the early look, from 3 years ago, because you're in Phoenix Initiative, and then going into these playtests now. Also, just seeing the cadence. Like, today we just got a major update of PTR, and I think that also has been really nice from Intrepid, because I didn't know what to expect when it came to update cadence, hot fixing, patching, because I knew they were going to be doing it. I just did not know they were going to be so adamant in doing it at the way they've been. Has this been par for the course for you, DA, as far as from what you saw, like even in pre-alpha or even further back?
Yeah, I mean, like, as early as Alpha 1, when we were doing those sieges and things like that, I mean, we had a ton of just updates that came just overnight, and every time we say man, this has got to be fixed, this is going to be got to be fixed, or this is wrong with it, they had updates ready to go within a very short amount of time. And so it's been nice seeing Intrepid kind of carry that on going into Alpha 2. And as we get into these later phases, I'm just excited to see what's, on the table for them.
Yeah, no, for sure. And so, I guess to get into like the bulk of what I think our conversation is going to be about. Last week I had someone you're very familiar with, our boy Lineker from Nova Ordum, and there's been some contention between Nova Ordum and Envious on the server lately. I think y'all are on Resna.
Yep.
So. Again, there's always two sides to every story, right? I heard it from Lineker's side, but I wanted to bring you on so you can give your side. Like who started this whole thing? First of all, I probably should have asked that to Lineker, but was this something that was started by you, or was it started by Lineker himself?
So I think I think that it originally started when we were in Alpha 1, and we were doing some that Spider World boss with that they've showed off in like the Monster Coin video and things like that.
Yes.
We were killing that in the what was supposed to be the tropics, and they ended up engaging on us, kind of taking pot shots because they knew we had a larger number of people. They ended up pressing a little bit more, killing 2 of our guys, and we were like, okay, guys, just run. As part of it, we'll keep our head on a swivel. We'll PvP, just watch out for them. Yep. And I got a report that like, hey, we're being like spawn camped. They have like a bunch of people out here spawn camping us. It was about 8 guys versus like 2 of ours, and so we essentially. The world boss was already kind of buggy, so we're like, fuck this, we're just going to go over there and PvP. And we go over there, we basically rescue our guys, we dick them down, and we initiated a guild war. Okay. And from there, it was just like we pretty much just beat them into submission until they eventually just took guild tags off. Then Lineker kind of jumped in the chat. He was pretty furious, and it is what it is. We were we ended up just kind of making light of it, but from there it was for him. It was personal, and it drove a lot of that contention to just want to come on the server, for them to just show up and to put it bluntly, just they want to fight us. They wanted to fight us ever since, and it's been a lot of fun.
Okay, and so that contention lasted 3 years. I mean, from Alpha 1. Like, was there stuff beefing between now and then, or like what?
I don't know, man. I completely I just wake up one day and it's like, oh yeah, remember that from years ago? Yeah, we're still mad about that, and we're coming for you. Unfortunately, when it comes to the pre-alpha 2, a lot of our guys spent a majority of our time testing things and getting really just getting to know the game. We were up, I mean, countless amount of hours. Steven tells us, hey, this is going to last the weekend, and the devs came into our voice chat and they're like, guys, like, I can't believe you're still playing this. It's 24 hours. Like your guys, even Axiom. Like there was times in the Discord where it's 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. All you see is Envious and Axiom on, and they're like, we can't believe people want to play this game so much that we're going to keep the servers open as long as you guys keep playing. So we just tested the ever-living hell out of it, and we found out about a lot of stuff. We kind of made a game plan for 1v1. Unfortunately, they spent game plan for the release. Unfortunately, they spent too much time trying to gank so they can get clips and kind of meme, and we kind of seen that roll over to the live servers. There was this whole huge conspiracy, like, oh, they're the bears. We went to bears and we fought them normally and we leveled up out of them, and we just like, how can we make this like easier so we can do it without sleeping? And I mean, we essentially just found little pockets of the corner of the map that we could either level in, or that were very that were very good for just kind of hunkering down, not getting that contested fight. Because we tell our guys that like there are different areas in the game where it's not the best exp, but
Right.
it's the best exp because you're not getting contended, you're not fighting for people over the spot, you're not having people take your pools and things like that. And
Right.
that just allowed us to skyrocket, just ahead of a lot of the competition when it came to leveling and things like that. Some of our guys were early 20s within the first like 48 hours or throughout that test. And yeah, it's just been it's been a moving train the time since, ever since.
So okay, I'm trying to remember the things that Lineker was telling me. So, because Lineker mentioned there was supposed to be this PvP tournament, and it was supposed to be.
Yes.
Okay, so this is what I want to hear from your perspective. So, I wasn't there. I wasn't even involved in the PvP tournament. I didn't even know there was a PvP tournament, but there was a PvP tournament where apparently you had to be like level 15, or like I guess level 15 was supposed to be like the cutoff or something like that. And then people were saying that your guys were, I don't know if they were doing an exploit or they were doing something to level even faster and were going above level 15 to participate in this tournament. Can you just like explain like about all that so that way we can get kind of clued into what happened there?
I would absolutely love to. So,
okay.
And I wanted to show the footage for this so bad, but they still kept the visual NDA. We reached out to Overlord, said, "Hey, let's just do some GVG scrims. It's going to be good, PvP practice for your guys, my guys, and we'll get that in before." This was scheduled way before, before the tournament, because that was on a Sunday and this was a Saturday. So there was a small group of people. Fighting outside of Carfin. It was like some Ethereum people who just got in the game, and then Overlord ended up joining that fight, and it snowballed into they brought more members, we brought more members, till it was just full on Envious versus Overlord. So we ended up doing a guild deck. If you've ever done a guild deck in the cookie cutter kind of basic guild system that you have in game, it doesn't accurately display the guild DOMs correctly, and sometimes you have to spam it to get the guild deck to work. So we ended up spamming the guild deck until it actually went off on, like, I think there are 3 or 4 guilds that Overlord had. So it's 3, 4, 5 guilds that we're continuously spamming the deck on over and over and over to try to get this to go through. Once the players are all flagged, and this is the first time anyone has ever done a GVT ever in the game because they weren't in those pre-alpha tests. So we essentially guild decked them. We fought Overlord. We had a banger of a fight. Shout out to Overlord, because that was some of the best fun outside of Carfin, fighting in that large scale fight that we did. And we ended up winning the GVG. I think maybe an hour or two later, Karma asked, "Hey, DA, did you get anything from of Karma of Overlord?" She asked, "Hey, DA, did you guys get anything for the reward?" We were like, "No, we haven't seen anything come through yet. We're still kind of waiting on it." And I think maybe a couple hours later, the server started pinging the reward for the Guild War, and the reward was like 2.9 million exp, and at the time that was like huge for the levels, because so we through decking each one of their guilds multiple times, trying to get that through, it was just, everybody was online, was just ding, 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 2.9, and we're like, oh my god. We reported that to the devs in a live voice chat with other people listening during the downtime. So there was no like hidden secret about this. And this is the part that, I always find it funny. We do the guild war, we get the rewards from it, and essentially we just get boosted to the guild war. I go to bed, we had a fun night. I wake up the next morning, and one of my members, Kenny, sends me a screenshot, and these guys are in alt guilds in the middle of the boonies, just sitting there trying to spam the guild war over and over and over. Through them trying that, we actually learned from them that the wider the gap on the win, the less rewards you would get. So they were essentially trying to power level themselves doing the Guild War bug system, and they were doing it wrong, and they were only getting like 100k exp. But it was absolutely hilarious to us, because they were crying about the unfairness of the tournament, and how they got boosted and nobody else knew about it. But I mean, the only reason we even knew about it is because we won the war.
So just to be clear, that whole like what did you call it, guild decking,
Yeah.
was that something that the game does on its own, like there was no stop to it, the game was just rewarding you, or was there a turn in of you guys going beyond 15? Like could you guys would have stopped the guild war and stopped gaining the experience, or was just the realm, just because you were in that guild war, were just rewarding you this 2.9 million experience?
Yeah, so it was the game rewarding us for each guild deck that we had done, and that amount of experience at that level was multiple levels worth of experience, and we were already 15 through 19. So some of us got boosted to like 22, 23. I don't think anybody made it past like 23 on the server, but yeah, I mean, it was a big enough boost from just those multiple guild decks that the rewards came in, and Intrepid didn't realize how overtuned they put the rewards for that system. But at the end of the day, they're trying to get servers ready. They're trying to get the game ready for everyone. They're not looking at balance. And Steven said this multiple times on stream, that he's not looking for balance, right? He's looking to trying to get the servers right, get things ready for that pre-alpha 2. So it's just something that, somebody put a little too many extra zeros in a spreadsheet and they sent it, and, it rolled out for us. Okay.
So this wasn't malicious. This wasn't intentional for you guys to do this.
Absolutely not. I mean, every night during that pre-alpha 2, the devs would come in our channel and they'd have a little notepad open and they say, all right, just give me the most egregious bugs you guys have found. And we'd give them a list. And we started to notice that there were groups of people, or like, because of how you can kind of link your Ashes of Creation account to Discord so easily, we started noticing people with 1 day time in the Discord, maybe their account was just created today. They were joining the voice chat whenever we'd have these sessions with the devs. So we ended up just basically switching to a format where we filled out a document and handed to them daily. But yeah, I mean, there was no malicious intent at all. We were lucky. We won the guild war, and the rewards were overtuned, and it's not really much we can do outside of that.
Right. And so because so this was an unofficial PvP like tournament, right? This was like who was like hosting this tournament?
It was, so Intrepid was kind of giving us a little bit of a platform for any of the players in the game wanting to kind of host their own events. And one of the things is we were trying to host that tournament, but with the server lag, with the bugs from the GVGs and things like that, people just didn't really want to do it because they didn't realize. I think a lot of it was a lot of people didn't realize how hard we were going to go, how much we were just going to not sleep even in a pre-alpha 2. And I mean, outside of Lineker and a couple of his guys, us and them were pretty much the only people who were, I'd say, above level 10 on the server. Everybody kind of played it a little bit everybody played a little bit casually. They expecting wipes and things like that. So yeah, it is.
Okay, so this level 15, because I remember people saying like, oh, was level 15 like a kind of pseudo rule, or was it something that, like, did you make that kind of declaration that, hey, we're going to do like level 15 is the cap or whatever, or like, was that implied? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so the level 15 was just kind of the point where we figured most people would be able to achieve. It gives you access to a lot of the kits start to unfold around that level. And it becomes a little less of like that under-leveled feeling, things like that. So that's why we set that arbitrary number at 15.
Okay. And so why didn't the people that were over 15 just not participate in the tournament?
I mean, realistically, bluntly, they just knew they were going to get their ass kicked. Like, there was, on top of that, there was, again, the only people that really signed up who weren't afraid to go edit was like 2 groups of Nova Ortem. So I think they had 8 men. So we ended up doing some 8v8s versus them outside of Parfin. That was a ton of fun. But unfortunately,
I'm just, because from what people were saying is that people were kind of discouraged to sign up for the tournament because the majority of your people were over 15. So I think that was what was causing the kind of rift and the kind of like the deflating of the balloon, so to speak, because they noticed that, well, we're trying to be like hit this level 15, but your guys are clearly way the heck over, so there's like a huge advantage. So there's no point in us going into an unfair fight.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. That's understandable. Like before, like I said, before that level, the GVG boost, Nico was already level 20. He was 23. Greek was 22. We already had guys in our high 20s just from naturally leveling, from going hard. So it's like it would have been the same outcome either way.
Okay, so because basically, like when I came into this community, right, I came in knowing absolutely nothing. None of the politics, none of the players, none of the guilds. And that's why I love doing the 1v1, because I got to know the community by talking to people. And so when I talked to you, I didn't really know the reputation Envious had at that time, and I feel like the reputation of the guild has just. It's bad, DA. Like, I think a lot of people have a very negative aspect of Envious. Like, can you, as the person in charge, like explain like why that is, or is it like jealousy? Is it like why is that?
I mean, a lot of it is a little bit of jealousy. I mean, these are a lot of the sentiments that you see from just the randoms and the people and the onlookers and things like that. It's natural for PvP games. If you've ever played a game like Albion, you ever played a game like Arcage, the people who are pushing the most content and progressing the most and doing the most are always the ones who are hated. So it's nothing that's new to us. I mean, we still receive 10 to 20 applications a day. We actually turned off applications and are basically are moving to a limited application because we're only accepted. I think we got to 455 members, and so we decided that going forward we're only going to be taking applications from people who have credentials, who have
like
VODs,
referrals,
wars, or referrals, or history. So basically showing that they've done something competitive within another game. So we've definitely. We definitely kind of moved to that more restrictive recruiting for going forward, because we've reached the kind of numbers that we want to see. Yeah, and now we're just we're cleaning house, we're scrubbing people who just aren't the right fit for us. We're doing a lot of VOD reviews and things like that. So yeah.
Okay. And because and especially in a game like Ashes, like I never played Albion Online. I never played Lineage 2 or Arcage, but from the conversations I've had that people have played those games for many years, relationships are so incredibly important. And do you have a fear that the relationship or are relationships good between you and other GMs? Like, do you basically have allies? Because from a lot of people, like they I don't know if they want to group up with someone with the reputation or the guild this kind of reputation. Do you find that to be more of a target on your back kind of thing when it comes to like picking the server whenever live long actually happens? Or do you...
Absolutely not, because we're in a small vacuum, and there are GMs who've reached out to us wanting to work together, they don't have a lot of people in right now, so they're just kind of learning the games and testing the waters. But you got to realize that we're on a server with us, Axiom, Ethereum, and Nova Order. That's 4 guilds. There are, I mean, we've played guilds, we've played with and against guilds in numerous titles that we very enjoy having a good time with. Spartans and LOD and FOE and LOTD, and there's a plethora, Hostile. There's a plethora of guilds that we've worked with in the past, and we're excited to work with going forward. They just don't have as many numbers, or they're not as interested. A lot of your more competitive guilds from other games aren't really looking to get into this early alpha testing. They're more looking to really plant their flag in that later alpha / beta. And that's understandable. We're approaching this a little bit differently. We want to learn everything about this game from the top down, and as going forward. Excuse me, I got the hiccups.
Yeah, no,
you're good.
We're all messed up. It's okay.
It's all good. Yeah, so going forward, like there's going to be a lot more people to work with. There's going to be a lot more room to spread out for guilds as more options on the map open up. And I think one of the things that anybody who's kind of played this can attest is this isn't a game where you can move your entire. You have to have a good, presence on the map. You can't just move your entire army around at the drop of a dime. especially with how large and vast the world is. So
Right.
yeah, when it comes to just like allies, when it comes to just like all of this through alpha, it's all talk. It doesn't really bother us. We're going to continue moving forward. We're going to continue testing the game. We're going to continue finding out a lot of dumb shit that we report to the devs, day after day. And you can either hate it or love it. We're here to stay.
Okay. And so I think there were, so this is kind of like allegations when it comes to duping, that you guys tell your people, don't say that we're duping, don't say that we're doing this. Like, what do you guys say when it comes to that? Because I had someone sent me a clip of one of your people, I think Strix or Crix, I don't know how to pronounce it, I butcher everybody's name, I apologize, but it was on stream saying that the reason why he couldn't go into the group was because the group was doing a dupe. And that was on stream when you said that. So are you guys abusing dupes in ways, or are you not reporting dupes to the developers?
The only dupe that there was in pre-alpha 2, where it wasn't even a dupe. You could take Beast of Burden and sell them to an NPC for 5,000 gold. Okay. And as I'm sure you've played, 5,000 gold's a lot of fucking gold. So I mean, I'm excited to have 1 gold in this game so far. Yeah, exactly. So the entirety of the server, we didn't even find it. We walked past a guy, unknown, from the Discord, walked past one of our guys and handed him like 3K gold. Right. And every one of us did a head turn like, what? So we do a little bit digging, and we found out about the Beast of Burden thing. And there was a ton of people who were just in line selling their Beast of Burdens from every guild, because everybody wanted to walk around with thick pockets. They wanted to get the Nightmare Horse. So, we told the devs about it the day it happened. So we've got screenshots with them telling them about it happened, and everybody leaned into it. The thing is, a lot of when you have one side of the story and it's coming from somebody who is overly obsessed with trying to make a name for themselves by taking you down, it turns into, oh, they're duping and they know about these exploits that people don't. There's no fucking exploits that the devs either don't already know or don't have some idea of. The biggest thing that I would say we found was that we found that through somebody else just giving one of our members gold.
Okay. Well, I'm just asking the questions, right? I'm just trying to be neutral. No,
you're fine. You're fine.
And
you're good. I like putting it out there. I like, it's not a problem to me.
Well, I think that's kind of the issue with people, is I feel like the transparency there, or the lack of, I guess because maybe you don't say anything, or I don't know if you don't say anything. I don't really go into the Ashes discussion too much, but I think the reason why people just make their own assertions is because there's nothing being said, and so people imply, oh, they're just exploiting dupes, or they're just doing this. I mean, because clearly, Strix, he's a pretty big dude on Twitch. So, and again, I'm a relatively small streamer. I'm so glad that I have developers watching my stream, but I'm pretty sure there's developers watching his stream too. So the one thing I guess that I've also heard is preferential treatment, that Envious specifically has had preferential treatment from Intrepid. Like, how do you view that or that statement?
Just to put it bluntly, we do a lot of work and put a lot of effort into testing and finding these bugs. We've had multiple devs thank us for the countless hours that we put into testing the game, and it is invaluable data that they wouldn't have got without having people just playing so much and playing so long. So I wouldn't say it's not any special treatment. They're just happy to have people who test their game, who don't constantly shit on it saying it's a fucking scam. It's, my horse doesn't work. It's fucking, this game is dog shit. Oh, excuse my language. But, it's not really any special treatment. We just, we play a lot. We go hard. We have a lot of sleepless nights, and we do a lot of testing for them. There are times where they would take, a group of us, take us into the middle field, and they say, "Get on your mount. All right, now get off your mount. Now trade. All right, now run circles around. Now cast all your spells, and then stop." And then all these just weird different things. And we're spending 2 hours, with them. So
right.
of course, they come into our channel a little bit more just to hang out and just chat with us about the state of the game. They, reach out to us for, some specialized testing that they might need to get their hands on. And I think a lot of people see that as just like special treatment. But I mean, at the end of the day, I see it as that we're putting in a lot of work and effort into making sure that this doesn't turn out to be a new world situation where you can shake your screen and stand and become invulnerable, or there are 50 million dupes that just go unturned. And we want to see Ashes of Creation succeed more than anybody else. We have hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in packages. And, at the end of the day, like, we're happy that Intrepid is just being so open with communication and allowing us to have like that chance to get in and kind of do the things that we've been able to do over the past, X amount of months.
I mean, and you guys have like a pretty good majority of your core officers and yourself in Phoenix Initiative, right? I mean, that's a pretty big thing. I mean, I don't know how many members Axiom has. I think they have over 10, and I'm clearly sure you guys have over 10, maybe over 20. I don't know. But I think that was probably the biggest thing, was that this whole preferential treatment thing. And you guys, I mean, DA, weren't you like a very early backer? Like, weren't you a 2017 like backer, or no?
Yeah, I was an early backer of the game. I've been following this for over like 8 years, and yeah, I have been looking forward to this project for the longest.
Right. Okay. I mean, because that's 7 years. I mean, like, I think ultimately, like, for me, I was very invested when I got in 2020 when the whole Lazy Peon video happened. You were clearly just as invested 3 years prior going into this whole thing. And so, okay, I think ultimately, like, I guess the whole thing is really just, how do you see the reputation at Evious like unfolding over the course of Alpha 2? Do you think, like, because again, I understand with Lineker, and there's always people that are going to take PvP personally, right? Especially when you lose your shit, right? And I think there's a very egregious thing of feeding greens, like the whole like corruption duping. And I don't really call it a dupe, but it's just something that doesn't really work as intended yet, which is the whole corruption side of things. And I think your guys, because of all the PvP you guys have been doing, like, what have been some of the major issues you guys have encountered with the corruption system and corruption baiting and all that other stuff?
Oh man, the corruption baiting has been nonstop. It's been a nonstop issue. It's so frustrating because you get into these situations where people are constantly trying to take pot shots at you, and I mean, myself, I worked off of like 600k exp debt just because I'm trying to level, and you got these guys that'll come over here and take a couple shots at you and try to get you to flag up, and if you don't, they just keep going away or try to pull monsters on you, whatever it may be. So I mean, I just say fuck it, I flag up, I dick them down, and then I have my boys kill me to remove the corruption. I don't care about it. Like, oh no, I have to play the game more. Whatever will I do?
Right.
But yeah, corruption baiting has been a huge frustration on, I think, a lot of people's parts, being able to kind of corruption bait with horses and beast of burden, as well as just like as players themselves.
I think from my perspective, I was talking to Roar and Richie about this. Like, I think whenever you are attacked, like because clearly if you're attacking, you're purple, and if you're attacking a green, I think the green does not need to intentionally flag at that point. I think if they tab or action combat themselves and do a spell on that target, they automatically flag themselves purple, because I think it is so unintuitive as a player, because your first natural reaction is when you're getting attacked, you attack back. Your first natural reaction isn't to Alt F, then attack. And I really hope Intrepid can fix that, because again, I think you should have to intentionally flag if you want to engage in PvP. But I think as someone who's trying to defend themselves, it feels very awkward to hit Alt F and then attack. I think the other thing that I remember Lineker was talking about, and there was also people that I was hearing this from every server, is the whole Alt F4. The fact that you can just instantly pop out of the game as soon as that happens. Now, I remember Steven saying that by Alt F4ing, they are going to add something to the game to where your character remains in the game for a certain amount of time. Now, whether that's 30 seconds, whether that's 1 minute, we kind of don't know, but I know that that's something that the team wants to do. It's just currently not built into the game. So there's kind of this practice that if you don't want to die, then you just Alt F4 and just pop out of the game. Right? Because I remember Lineker saying that was something that you guys were doing, and then you were saying like, no, we're not the only ones doing it. They're doing it too. And again, it's like this back and forth thing. Because again, I worked off. We got into a skirmish with Knights of the Nighthawk. I think it's or I can't remember what guild it was, but I think it was something of the Nighthawk. And there was this whole corruption baiting that we were going through then, because again, some of my players didn't even know how to flag. They're like, I can't hit them. My spells aren't hitting them. It was just such a clusterfuck in general. And I had almost 114,000 XP debt, like from the skirmish. And so hearing you say 600,000, my heart cringed, because it was such a pain in the ass to work off the 100,000 that I had. But yes, go ahead.
I was at work, man, getting calls back to back, and still just like going hard on it. There are some places that you can go that it's like 100K is just a couple like 30 minutes, if not less.
Right. And so do you feel like with because I remember you saying with your guild, you're actually not recruiting anymore, you're trying to, like, I guess, kind of cull the herd, so to speak. Do you feel like there are bad actors in your guild? Do you feel like there are people that are misrepresenting Envious and are creating that stereotype of this is a bad guild by a few bad apples in your guild?
Every guild has those players that get caught, doing something. I will say that, like, we've caught Lineker's guys doing stuff, and he's removed them. Every guild has those people that you bring in, you don't really know about their history or their past, and they become a problem. A lot of times that gets highlighted by other people, and you remove them. I mean, I think we've kicked over like 75 to 80 people just throughout the the pre-alpha to alpha 1, just for either just not being the right fit for us, or they have no hands, whatever it may be. There are people that just aren't the right fit, and we remove them. But to say that it's more of a, I don't put that on the members, because it's not the members' fault that we do a guild war for the first time and it dings us with 9 million EXP. It's not our members' fault that they stay up 24/7 and grind something and do a world boss normally that we've killed 100 times doing all the mechanics, and every time it flies away, it decides to just go to random Timbuktu, and we play Monster Hunter fighting the dragon, and it gets locked in a rock. That's not my player's fault. I'm not gonna spank them on the hand, because the game is a early alpha game, and we're just living in Steven's world. So I'm not gonna blame our members for that. Have we had members who've done things that not to our liking and taken things too far? Sure, every guild has, but again, we make it a point to remove those people.
Right. And just to confirm, like, because I'm pretty sure, because I've heard this whole, like, you guys aren't reporting feedback, or you aren't doing your due diligence and like finding something that's broken and then using that brokenness to your advantage. Like, I'm sure you have like spreadsheets of things that you're giving to Steven or giving to like the developers. I mean, they're watching your guys' streams. I mean, they're clearly like trying to pay attention to what you guys are doing, because you guys have been there. There's clearly a relationship between Intrepid and you guys. So I just want to confirm. I just want to be able to hear you say that, yes, you guys are doing that.
Yeah, no, I mean, anything that, like I said, anything we find, we report. We report the moment we find it. The GMs constantly will just pop up during our gameplay, and they'll pop up during our gameplay, and they'll say like, "Hey, how'd you guys do this?" or "What'd you guys get here?" Most notably, there's just the when we found plunders, right? All of us were running plunders, and then we started noticing, like, after a night, all the other guilds started running plunderers, and people were just like, "Oh my god, they're exploiting. How did they get to level 10 so fast? I'm only level 2." Well, again, we played the game. We found that Plunders was giving like what 15 to 20k exp right off the rip. So while everybody was fighting those little gobs at the town and running around trying to do different things, we just did the natural quest that gave us the natural reward. And this is one of the things that I think a lot of players coming into this game who haven't played a game like our Arcade or Albion haven't experienced is knowledge in these PvX MMOs are power.
Absolutely.
My guys can attest to that when they went to go play Classic. A lot of them felt like there was so much that they didn't know that they didn't know. And when you play these games, it's like, you know, it becomes like this group gets ahead because they knew to plant their crops on the day one of the spring season, because, you know, once the game has an extra long like winter and summer and fall or whatever it may be, and then they have to wait for their crop rotation, and that usually things like that snowball into just more, you know, you get more gold. You have that more gold allows you to roll in on enchanted items more and gamble. We love the gamble and, you know, plussing our items.
Right.
And all of that just snowballs. And for somebody on the outside looking in, it's just, it's one of those, how did they get so far ahead? And it's just a natural progression of these type of games.
So with you, because you guys have a pretty extensive knowledge on PvP so far, like what do you feel is the biggest thing that PvP and Ashes of Creation needs to fix? Because I personally don't think it's the corruption system. I think the corruption system was fine actually before they buffed it, basically. I think the major issue is the flagging system, but I want to hear your thoughts.
Okay, so here's the thing. When it comes to the flagging system, there was a lot of contention between players. There's a lot of players who were ganking lower levels, and the flagging system was just straight up bugged. And I guess the frustration for me is, instead of just fixing the problems with the core flagging system, they just heavy-handed it and, you know, and made it even more punishing. And we think the flagging system was fine. You know, it's just I would rather see them fix the system versus
buffing corruption.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think ultimately, like, once they can fix the flagging system, because I'm pretty sure you've seen the Pirate Software interview with Steven. The fact that there's supposed to be, like, right now, like something in the game where if you are a white player, which we're so used to saying green, right? Green players, because there's green, there's purple, there's red, and then, you know, when you go in game, you see just white, you know, text. So I think that's a little confusing, rough rip. But when you go and see a white player, that your AoEs aren't supposed to attack them, and clearly they are. And I think they should have put effort into fixing that than buffing the corruption. Because again, I think starting at a really critical place with corruption, I think is a good thing, because it always feels better to have something like that nerfed than buffed. You know what I'm saying? From a player's perspective, right? So I think, again, I think they have probably some bigger fish to fry. I think they are very much aware of the whole system. But do you feel like, other than maybe the flagging system, do you see any sort of weaknesses or anything that needs improving, like from a PvP standpoint?
There's a lot. I mean, personally, I think the core flagging system and the way it works the core corruption system, the way it works, I think it is I think it's fine. I think it works really well and it does its job. But with it being so overtuned, I mean, we've seen it go from one patch where it's just like you drop 3 pieces of gear on the first level of corruption to just like even more heavy-handed as patches go on. And it's just like, what is the point? Like, you've gutted almost all of the PvP in the game. We went from having like these small skirmishes in the world to just essentially nothing at all. Nobody wants to flag because nobody wants to lose their gear. And it's not, and again, it's the core issues with the flagging and the corruption system. There are times where you're in the world and somebody, you know, you take a shot at somebody who's flagged, but the game has this weird like coin toss of are they flagged, are they not flagged, are they combatant and they not combatant. And with some of the classes being overtuned, you can 2-shot some people, and a lot of times it's just like I left my I left my auto attack on, and I accidentally tabbed to somebody, and he was a lower level, and he just poofed. And now I'm just like, okay, I got to go to the other side of the world, or I've got to go somewhere off the beaten path so I can get get my corruption removed from me.
I think for me, like, there's just little qualities of life too that, because again, when you're in a party of 8, right, because you're out grinding at some spot, right, and you run across another party of 8 that's like fucking with you, whether that's by your group, a couple of your group members died, and then that other group rushes to go loot their body and not go combatant, which I'm so glad in Pirate Software's video that they are going to do that, because I just think if you're going to steal loot off of someone's body, my whole thing is that not only should you not be able to unflag yourself instantly, whenever you go into combatant status, there should be a debuff of like 5 minutes that you can't toggle off combatant status. So it is it's a choice, like it's a calculative choice, because I think if you do anything less than 5 minutes, it's going to be like almost ancillary, because again, the travel time, the regrouping, I think 5 minutes is a good amount of time. I mean, hell, I would say start off 10 minutes, but I'm okay with 5, because I think right now there's that whole thing of going into combatant status and then flagging it off. And then now you can literally do that, I think, in combat. And there's a lot of those little things that are making PvP just very toxic, right? Because as players, we're always going to go down the path of least resistance. And so I think once they can fix that, I think that's also a really, really good thing. The other thing I would really want to, because I'm actually making a video about this, so I'm kind of already telling you more of my video takes, but I think as a party lead, if there should be a function like a ready check to almost go combatant status. Like you do a full ready check of being initiate combatant status, yes or no, and your group can just hit yes, and now you are combatant status, right? So like as a party lead, you could just be like, hey, we're about to flag up on here. I'm going to do this combatant status check and hit the button, and then boom, we're ready to go. Like as a like a ready check kind of thing. So that way we can just go in and start doing shit if we want to do it instantly, right? Because again, it's very unintuitive to hit Alt F, right? So I think if you're party lead, and again, if you don't want to take part in the skirmish, you can hit no and you'll remain green, and then you're good. But I think having something like that for party leads would be also really, really good as well, especially with how fast paced this game is in certain grinding spots.
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of a part of the game. That's, everybody wants to get to max level as fast as possible, so that like path of least resistance is going to be something that that all players try to go for. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I just I really think that Intrepid really needs to just take a hard look at how they want their sister flagging system to be. Really just kind of, it almost feels like they have a 1 foot in, 1 foot out when it comes to PvP and the whole, how much of this game do we want to PvP to be involved in it, and the toxicity, it's just a natural part. When you're fighting somebody in game, you're losing items, you're losing time, you're losing resources, and that player contention is always going to cause strife among players. But that's what kind of keeps the wheels turning in these type of games.
Well, I heard people talking about, like, because the flagging system is not working right, they should just turn off PvP, and I really disagree with that. The reason why we're having this discussion is because the PvP is on and we're running to these issues now. I would rather them be aware of these issues now than be aware of those issues at the start of phase 2. You know what I mean? Like, I understand that it's not fun, right? Like dealing with like a janky system or a system that is fully not implemented yet, it sucks. But this is the entire point of testing. You have to test these things. You have to see what's working, what's not working, what feels good, what doesn't feel good. And I think right now with PvP, the majority of stuff just doesn't feel good. Because again, I just don't see, if they remain corruption, or if they keep corruption the way it currently is, I feel like it basically will be a PvE game, because no one's going to want to lose 3 pieces of their equipped gear.
Exactly.
No one. And again, I feel like because there's 5 stages of corruption, right? There's corruption 1 through 5. I think corruption 1, like, I don't know how you feel about this, DA. How do you feel about corrupted players defending themselves? Because, what Steven also mentioned, I forgot in what interview it was. I don't know if it was Nice's or Phantom's, but he basically talked about how as a corrupted player, there is no defending yourself. So basically, if you are killing like green players, right? So if the strategy is send your green players to kill corrupted players, and you're defending yourselves, the green players attacked you, the corrupted player, and then you attack back, defending yourself, you're just going to get more corrupted by killing them. And I think there should be a sort of defensive with corrupted players, because again, at the end of the day, you're already corrupted. You're going to incur a penalty. But if you are good enough to defend yourself, even while all of the dampening, the movement speed decrease, like all of the stuff, I think you should be able to defend yourself to a certain extent. Because I don't like the idea of getting more corrupted defending yourself. I think if you're intentionally trying to commit murder, that's the predicate for me of where you should increase your corruption. But if you're already a murderer and someone's already trying to kill you, I don't know. I think in a game, you should be able to defend yourself, because I think it's just kind of shitty just to basically, oh, okay, there's a bunch of green players here. I'll just stand here and just wait till I get looted, right? You know, that to me doesn't make any sense, because you can keep killing them, but you're just going to incur more of a penalty, right? So it's like, it just behooves anybody to like, why fight back if you're going to get more corrupted?
I wholeheartedly agree. And when it comes to so I haven't really put a lot of thought into how I feel about the corruption, because I've heard both sides of the argument. I've heard that, you know, the side of like people want to, like, if they go corrupted, you know, the degradation system over time is definitely something that they'd have to deal with. I like the idea of, like, you know, the corrupted players being, you know, located on the map and you can see their movements in real time and things like that. And I also know how popular things like pirating in ArcAge was. Right. And so, like, part of me, you know, feels like, yes, the corruption system answers a lot of, or it solves a lot of problems that are inherent with like these type of games with no restrictions. Right. But at the same time, you know, I do think one of the things that was fun about ArcAge was those, you know, they leaned more on letting the player solve it versus you know, the devs kind of coming in and taking a more heavy-handed approach. Right. So I don't know. I'm kind of like on the fence when it comes to the corruption system. At its core of what it's supposed to be, you know, before the heavy-handed changes, I had nothing against it. I was completely fine with it, but I also, like I said, I see the other side of the coin, and I understand that argument. And I'm not really necessarily against it.
I just think, you know, what's the point of the bounty hunter system at that point? Yeah. Because it's like, if no one's going to be corrupted, what are bounty hunters doing? What are you going to do as a bounty hunter? Because again, I'm not saying that I'm trying to incentivize people being corrupted, but that's a part of the game, right? Right. And I think there needs to be those decision-making processes of, I'm willing to kill this person because they have a huge advantage I'm after. I saw them gathering all this lumber, or I just, there's someone I don't like, or whatever the case is. You know you're going to incur the penalty. So I think there should be some type of defensive mechanism as a corrupted player, because if not, and it just is going to be this super heavy-handed system, no one's going to be corrupted. And then we're basically in a PvE game that, you know, everyone's just not wanting to even deal with it unless you're purple, and then it's somewhat a PvP game. But I like the spice that corrupted players can offer into a game like this, and I think they're kind of killing that emotion in people of even wanting to try. Because especially like, I think if you're corrupted level 1, you should just get guaranteed to remove, or like a random piece of 1 gear. Like, I think that's fine. Like, there's some people that say that they shouldn't even lose any gear at corrupted level 1. I'm willing to test that. I'm fine with that. I think they should get some severe debuffs on them, like stat dampening, movement speed, all that stuff. But if they do it again, because there is 5 stages of corruption, and I want there to be a system like the bounty hunter system, because I think that system is actually really cool. But if the system initially, right, corruption level 1 is so punishing, just get rid of the bounty hunter system then, because that's going to be a useless system. So I don't know, man. It's just, there's a lot of stuff that we have to basically do when it comes to PvP, because I do want the blend. I want the threat of there to be potential PvP, And I think there definitely is, but I think when it comes to the corruption, that's definitely like a wild horse, you know, in the, you know, just randomly, right? Because it's just that thrill of like, oh shit, this person's corrupted, or this person's willing to kill me as a green player. Damn, that's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, and that should be something that does happen. And is it going to suck for you? Absolutely. But I think those things need to happen because that's the game Ashes of Creation is, right? I'm not trying to incentivize griefing. I'm not trying to incentivize any of that stuff. I think griefing is completely trash. I think Asmongold being completely, like, not doxxed, but him being screen sniped like that was completely atrocious. And it was really nice to see other players like Sfand, who didn't get, like, no one was killing Sfand. No one was killing any Fuchsia. Like, you know, like they were leaving them alone. But with Asmongold, people just wanted to be a dick. And it's like, for what? You know, like I think Asmongold isn't gonna like Ashes of Creation. I am fully confident in that. I've watched Asmongold for way too long. I understand his whole stance on open world PvP coming from classic World of Warcraft. He does not like it. But I think to not even give him the chance is really fucked up. You know? Yeah.
And see that there's two things I don't want to speak on this. One, when it comes to the corruption, I think that losing gear at level 1 corruption is completely whack. I mean, I'd say arguably you shouldn't lose gear until like level 3, because it's so easy to gain little level 1 corruption just because you were defending your grinding spot, just because you were trying to not have people just grief you internally with like with PvE mobs and things like that. So I think it's okay for that stat dampening. It's okay for some of those like kind of slap on your hand and the light slap on your hand at those early level stages. And I'm just completely against that whole gear dropping at those lower levels. For the more egregious offenses, absolutely, you know, you absolutely should, you know, start losing gear and higher levels of degradation with that. Now, when it comes to Asmongold, yeah, I mean, like, I think Asmongold is a reflection of a lot of players who kind of planted their flag in this game thinking that, you know, hey, I can run a because, you know, Steven's a salesman, right? And he sold a lot of us a dream. And, you know, a lot of people, I think, come into this thinking like, hey, I'm just going to be a bartender behind a tavern, and I'm going to wipe my bar every night, and I don't really have to focus on too much leveling. I can be under leveled and things like that. And it's just like, that's just not this type of game. You're going to have to participate in all aspects of it. And that's not just to that's not just for PvE players. Like, everybody is going to have to get outside their element. PvPers are going to have to play into the economy system. You can't just be a murder hobo 24/7. Otherwise, you're going to, if you don't, that money is power, and it's huge in these type of games. So you are putting yourself at a disadvantage not crafting. You are putting yourself at a disadvantage not playing the econ game. You are putting yourself at a disadvantage not doing both PvE and PvP. And more often than not, especially with a lot of these a lot of players, is, you know, a lot of these games you can do fully lean into one area, but you don't have to ever interact with PvP. And finally, we have an MMO where it's like, you have to interact with PvP. You can't just, it's not fair for every game to tell everybody, well, you know, PvPers, if you don't, you know, if you don't like PvP, you don't have to interact with it. You can go play the rest of your game. But PvPers, if you don't like PvEing, or if you don't like the econ, guess what? Sorry, too bad. You have to interact it. And Ashes is truly forcing everybody to interact with, you know, all those moving parts, and it's not playing favoritism. It's not. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's pretty much all I have to say. That it's not, you know, letting players just kind of sit in one bubble, and you have to do a little bit of everything. Which
when it came to Lineage 2, and I think this is a problem that people that have played WoW for so long, because WoW is like the infinite game. It's the game that broke all the records. It's the game that's most played MMO worldwide, and no other MMO exists. And I think Asmongold has that kind of issue. Now, believe me, I played WoW for 17 years. I still play World of Warcraft right now. I'm hopefully going to transition from WoW to Ashes of Creation when it finally comes out. But the fact Lineage 2 in 2007, you can look this up, had over 42 million accounts created. That is not a niche game. And I think in the bubble of North America, because World of Warcraft was such a big thing here in NA, that doesn't mean it was the biggest thing like everywhere else too. And again, it could have been. WoW could be this huge game, and I'm not trying to say it's not, but to call Lineage 2 a niche game, like maybe in NA for sure, because I think other MMOs probably, took precedent over that. But worldwide, it was quite a contender. It had millions of people playing. And so this idea that there isn't a PvP crowd, there isn't people that are interested in a PvP MMO is just bullshit to me, because again, I've looked it up. I looked at the numbers. I looked to see what people are doing. And Lineage 2, surprisingly enough, is actually still going strong kind of today too. There's a lot of private realms. There's a lot of stuff going on there. I talked to Flanker, or Ash's Ukrainian creator, and he's a huge Lineage 2 player. And again, in other parts of the world, dude, Lineage 2 was the kind of MMO. I mean, you're looking like South Korea, you're looking at Brazil, you're looking at, again, a lot of the other countries that isn't NA, you know what I mean? And so I feel like with Ashes, if they truly do everything correct, even a person like Asmongold won't play it. I don't think it's going to be a niche MMO. I really don't. I
don't think so either.
I think it actually could be a huge, huge success worldwide. Maybe not in NA. Maybe it only has like 100,000, 200,000 people here in NA, but it could have 3.5 million worldwide. It could have 5 million worldwide. We don't know. I mean, and again, I think people are so misrepresenting or calculating the other countries and how much they kind of want an MMO like this.
Yeah, we talk about this in our Discord quite a bit, but when it comes to these other MMOs, you named the Lineage thing is actually a really great example. When you look at the statistics of it, like a lot of NA players didn't really know about Lineage because of World of Warcraft and how big that was here in the US, but like everywhere else, Lineage was dominating. There were times where even during World of Warcraft's peak that Lineage 2 had more subscribers and more players. And I think that, like you said, there is a market for those players who want to play a PvP game. I remember the first time I logged in Lineage and somebody killed me, and I didn't get upset. I was like, wait a minute, was that another player? I can kill other players? Like, that was mind-boggling to me. I was like, dude, this is fucking great. And I mean, I love that type of gameplay. I think there absolutely is a market. You see it with a lot of the games that come out today. Unfortunately, when it comes to the West, and I think this is just a part of just a problem here in the West, is game developers here in the West don't want to take the risk of making a PvX MMO because there's a lot of questions that you have to answer. There's a lot of things that you have to do to make it successful. And unfortunately, they don't want to take the risk. They'd rather copy the World of Warcraft model and make another World of Warcraft with the latest engine and just say, here it is. And players are just kind of tired of that. Why would I go play a World of Warcraft clone when every single clone, such as Runes of Power, Runes of Magic, and we used to hear it back in the Golden Age, like, oh, this new MMO is coming out and it was made by ex Blizzard devs and it's gonna be so great, and it's just another clone of World of Warcraft. And I think people don't want to see that. And now we're in a space where people want more. They want to experience a game like Albion or Arcade where there's naval combat and movement of goods and the kind of that PvX and the economy driving the PvE and the PvP. They want something like that. Unfortunately, the only people who can give us something even a smidge close to something like that are Korean developers. And well, when it comes to their culture, their markets and things like that, they are very fond of pay to win games, and you're never going to get away with that. So it's just like you either just accept your Korean overlord devs or you go play World of Warcraft. And that's why I'm so excited about Ashes.
No, for sure. I just want to say the 47 million accounts created was in 2007. That was a headline in 2007. So I just want to say for people in the chat, this wasn't a headline like last year or the year before or in 2020. Like this was a headline in 2007 of 46 or 47 million accounts created. So clearly very big, because I mean, when did Lineage 2 came out? Wasn't it 2002? 2000, was it 2004?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
Yeah, I can Google it real quick, but yeah, it was somewhere around that.
Yeah, I mean, because again, I just want to give perspective, right? So 2007 was literally the start of Burning Crusade, right? So
Yeah,
as a World of Warcraft player, so the fact that it already had 47 million accounts created then is wild. In 2007, we weren't even at like 1 million in WoW yet. You know what I'm saying? So that to me is just it's wild. It's a wild statistic. But ultimately, all I'm saying is that I really don't care what the perspective from NA players is. Okay, fine, Ashes of Creation is a neat game, who cares? My whole thing is I just want Intrepid to be profitable, and because again, doing a startup, a gaming company startup with banking on an MMO, which MMOs don't have a great track record right now. You release a brand new MMO, I mean, it's not a good, I mean, you would be better served to make a survival game. Survival games are killing it right now, like as far as commercially, as far as from players. There's a lot of people who enjoy survival games, and the way that Steven is been cultivating and doing Ashes of Creation, it's literally been awesome to finally see like the progress and the updates and just the cadence and the communication and everything that I've been wanting to see, because I saw it in Alpha 1, like as an onlooker, as someone watching streams. And for me, like, it was just really nice to see that Intrepid really does care. And the fact that I've heard so much of the downfall from ArcAge, you know, or Lineage with the whole pay to win stuff. Pay to win got super crazy. I mean, it wasn't so bad, and then it got really bad, and then bots came in, and, you know, it was just a whole bunch of crap, right? But World of Warcraft in 2007 didn't have a bot problem, at least not yet. Like, the bot problem came pretty much way later. Were there bots in 2007? Yes, there were, but they weren't as predominant as they are now, is my point. Because again, technology, like you look at the computers back in 2007, like we didn't have like the computer power to have like the kind of bot farms that are active now. You know what I mean? So I think a lot hinges on Ashes of Creation. I think Steven knows that, but I guess what I'm more afraid of is the kind of, I'm waiting for Asmongold to give his true opinion. Like, if once he actually plays Ashes, gives it an honest to God shot. And I really hope Steven just stays firm, because I really think Asmongold's going to lay into Ashes. I think even in phase 2 or phase 3, when the game is like been updated and it's really good, like everybody, we can all agree as a player base, man, Ashes feels amazing right now. The systems feel really engaging. They feel really good. But I just have a feeling that Asmongold is really going to tear it apart because of the PvP. I think even when the flagging system's all fixed, even when things are fixed, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope to God I am wrong. I really do, because I really want Asmongold to enjoy this game. I do. But going by his track record, you know, I just don't think he is. And I don't want Steven to go into a thing of then like adhering to these big massive streamers, right, like Asmongold or Tim the Tapman or Shroud, or, you know, to conform to the more like PvE centric thing. And that's coming from a PvE player. Like, I just want Ashes to remain, to give identity of the PvX, right? That's my whole thing.
Yeah, and that's kind of been, I think, everybody's fear for a while. You know, coming in, like playing games in the past, like Amazon is absolutely somebody who is guilty of this, where they allow players who come in with these, you know, strong opinions, who have a massive following on stream, and they just say, okay, well, we got to make it fun for those guys. And it completely just wrecks the entirety of their game, because they're catering to people who, A, aren't really the target audience for that game, or B, they how do I put it? They listen to people who are only going to play the game for a month or two anyways, and then quit.
Like Asmongold, he doesn't play games anymore. He's a React streamer. This is what I don't understand. Like, all he does is watch videos. Like, does he play the occasional game every now and then? Yes. He plays it for a month if he's really enjoying a game, but then he'll beat it or get to the point where he's done with it, and then that's it. And with MMOs, that's how he operates. He'll play it for a day, he'll play it for a couple of days, like when it's hot to talk about it. Like when New World came out, he was playing it like all crazy, but then look at him now. He's not playing New World. Like, he's not going to do the thing you think he's going to do. So why adhere to someone who isn't really going to stick with the game? You know what I mean? Like, I think you should be there for the players that understand what this vision is and understand, like, hey, there's going to be, because I think over romanticizing about this game and thinking you're going to love every single aspect about it is really tearing people's minds apart, because I think they really enjoy Steven and what he says and what he's offering. And so they think, I have to love everything about Ashes of Creation. And guess what? You're not. Like, you're literally not. And I think to have that in your mind at all is terrible. There's going to be things about Ashes of Creation you're not going to like. There's going to be things about Ashes of Creation you're going to like. And there's going to be things about Ashes of Creation you're going to absolutely love. Because hell, when I played World of Warcraft back then, there were things about WoW that I didn't like. There's things about WoW that I still don't like. But I've been a player for that game for 17 fucking years. You know what I mean? So I think don't do that to yourself. Like, if you're one of those players that just so excited for Ashes of Creation and you want every aspect to be perfect, it's not. It's just not. There's going to be things that Steven will say that you'll disagree with, but that doesn't mean you should quit. I mean, it's just you're going to be at an impasse. There's agree to disagree kind of thing. And there's going to be things that I'll make a video about that I don't like. And then Steven's going to be like, well, tough. And I hope he does that. I hope he says, well, tough. That's just, we're not changing it. You know, I can leave my feedback. It doesn't mean they have to adhere to everything that I say. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of the other thing that I've seen a lot from the community as well, is like just the over romanticizing about this game, because there is a huge passion from people when it comes to this game. I mean, clearly you being having one of the biggest guilds, I mean, you can see that passion from your own guild members as well.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, you know, Intrepid, it doesn't matter. One of the reasons why I just like it, one of the things I really respect about Steven is it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, he's going to make the game that he wants. This is Steven's game, and Steven loves Arcade. He loves Lineage. I mean, we see it now. There are systems in Ashes of Creation that are literal one for like copy, cut, paste and into the game from Arcade. And it's just like, you know, hey man, I love to see it, bro. Like, Arcade was such a hidden gem that was slept on, and Cacao had such a massive bag on their hands that I don't think to this day they fully understand how much they fumbled it.
I'm sure.
Just with the labor system and things like that. So, you know, I have no problem with it. Steven sticks to his guns. There's a lot of times where people come in and they complain about things that I'm just like, I don't agree with that. And, you know, he stands firm. That's not the type of game he is making, and he isn't. You know, if you don't like it, then you can either play at lunch, or you can just find, there's other MMOs out there for you to play. And that's just one of the things that I just really like and respect about Steven, is just that he sticks to his guns. He's making the game that he wants. That, I mean, arguably that all of my members want, or a lot of us want, and we're glad to see that he stands firm on it.
No,
one of the things that he, and he's also, receptive, right? He understands that,
absolutely.
Everything, what he envisions as perfect is not. And one of the things that I think that is a great example of that is the instance content and rating and things like that. Talking about how they, in the future phases, they're going to, have more instance content that might not necessarily drop the best gear, but allow people to have those harder challenges. And I think those type of things are very important to the health of an MMO, especially for people who like that. And I mean, Ashes of Creation already offers so much. It's not hard for something like that for them to implement.
Yeah. I mean, I asked him that in my interview, because there's just a huge call for instance content. Now, I'm a big advocate of not even having gear in those instance dungeons. Like, if there's going to be an instance dungeon with bosses, I think they should all be cosmetic. I think you should have a really cool cosmetic you can earn that has no stats on it. I think you should be able to earn, potentially, like, have achievements in those dungeons, right? So if you complete a certain achievement, you kill a boss a certain way or do something, you can get some character creator appearances, or some really cool scars, or like a glow, or something like that. I'd even be down for recipes. Like, maybe you can go and get some really interesting recipes in a dungeon. You know what I mean? Like, I'm down with that too. Mount skins. I don't think gear should exist. I really don't even think gatherables should exist from those mobs. I think, again, there should be a time where you kill the boss and nothing, you're like, oh shit, that sucks. But again, you're here because you're asking for a challenge. right? You're asking for an instance content where you have to worry about PvP. And again, I think you can still get stuff. Like, I think achievements is actually a really good thing they can put in those instance dungeons. I'm just not a proponent of having actual dropped gear like in those things. And I think if you are going to add any kind of gear, it has to kind of be kind of mediocre. Like, but I even think mediocre gear, like, why even do that? Like, I'd rather just have a gatherable than, like, I'm just not a fan of instance content having gear, you know. But
yeah, I agree. I think that cosmetics and different bragging rights rewards, you know, send out a server message like X Guild was, you know, #1 on server. The stuff that Steven has talked about with the trophy graveyard. I think there's a lot of incentives that you can put in there that doesn't equate to player power. And that's the biggest thing that I think that people just don't want to see, is that player power come from being able to kind of just be in an instance all day and not have to be contested by anything. Because at the end of the day, this game is risk versus reward. So
hell, I'd even be down for like a hard mode where it's like you can only enter the hard mode once like a week or something like that, and if you die you get kicked out. Like, I think that'd be really cool. So you got basically one shot to do it, and so you got to be very like careful, because if everyone dies, you got to wait till next week to try it again in hard mode, right? If there's like a regular mode or whatever, cool. But I think having like a hard mode like that would actually be really cool. The other thing I want to mention too, and this is, again, I'm kind of mentioning stuff from my video, is I want there to be a Makara. Like, so I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but in hardcore WoW, you can basically agree to a duel. And when you die, you're dead. That character's gone. I actually want that in Ashes of Creation. However, I don't want there to be any, like, you don't loot the boss, like, or you don't loot the other person. Like, all it is, you don't get anything out of it other than permanently killing that player or that character. So, but I think stuff like that would add, as a streamer, that would add some really cool stakes. And again, it would have to be a duel. Like, that's like a, I don't know, like a Makara. So it's like not a regular duel, it's a specific duel, and you have to hit I agree. But if you do that and you agree to it, the loser loses his character. I don't know. I think that would be such a great thing for this game personally too, especially when it gets boring and stale.
I think that's a great system to have. One of the I am wholeheartedly for that. I think that would make for some really cool content, especially with some more higher end players, you know, winning multiple and kind of like, you know, I have the highest score in you know, Makara and things like that. So like I'm all for things like that. I'm all for arenas and war zones and things like that. Another thing that I would like to see when it comes to Ashes is just that kind of endless tower, right, where you can go up 4x4x4 and you can keep contesting on different floors. And it doesn't necessarily have to be an instance, right? You could have like a kind of respawn when you die. There's a spawn point for that floor, or whatever it may be. But I really would like to see kind of that like endless dungeon or tower climb from Ashes. And I think that's something that would also play just very well into this game.
Oh yeah, I would love that. I love roguelikes personally. D, I've kept you for a while. I really just want to thank you so much for coming and talking. Could you have a little bit of extra time for like an after show? We can go and talk a little bit about some other stuff, maybe look at some chat stuff. Where can people find you at, DA?
You can find me in the Envious Discord at discord.gg/envious. You can check out our site at enviousgaming.com. I'm always active within the Discord of Ashes of Creation. I am anywhere that there is Ashes of Creation or that pertains to Ashes of Creation, except for Reddit, because I don't even have a Reddit account, dude. There's so many times people are like, "Did you see this thing on Reddit?" I'm like, "Yeah, I could care less about Reddit." But
no, I got you, man. Okay, well, I'll definitely try to put that in the description down below. Guys, we're gonna end the actual official 1v1. We're gonna do a post show now for a couple more minutes. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe for more content, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Later, guys.
Bye.
All right, we're good. Guys, I just want to say, Penumbral, thank you so much for the donation earlier. I really, really, really appreciate that. I did remember what you said. You basically said that the corruption is so heavy-handed right now because they're trying to deter players from engaging in PvP in this testing. And I do agree with that. I think they are trying to let players like just do like the server stabilization. I think that phase 1, this is what it's all about. Like you're literally trying to break these servers, and golly have we, especially in the freaking Highwayman Hills area, Oakenbane Keep. I mean, it's still like those server workers, man. Server worker 8, I think, is Highwayman Hills. That server worker has been, I feel bad for those gerbils, man. It's still trudging along, man. But what have you guys found server wise? Like, do you feel like the dynamic gridding is going to really, or the dynamic meshing, whenever that goes into play for phase 2, do you think that really is going to help out alleviate a lot of the congestion and lag?
I hope so.
I hope so too, man.
I think it's even for even for the way the servers are set up now. You know, I mean, we were crashing out the server just having 30 guys fighting mobs, and so I think there's a lot more stability things that need to be hammered out before you even get to that point. But you know, I think it's a great idea, and I think that if Intrepid pulls it off, if Intrepid pulls it off, it's going to be something that they can market to other companies, and it's going to be huge on there. Oh,
dude, I think that's going to be really important. Honestly, the whole Intrepid net that they're doing in the back end, I think they should really, like, if they get that going in a really good state, they should definitely market that shit out to other games, because I think the fact that other MMOs go through this thing of not having a completely open world, like this one server like kind of thing, is because, you know, it's hard to do. It's hard to engineer. And I think the engineers at Intrepid are miracle workers, from what I've been hearing so much about and actually seeing. I mean, again, every update has had more and more server stabilization fixes, certain POIs that have gotten better. I think server worker 8, I don't know if they're, because I think honestly they could make that server worker actually work pretty well, because I can guarantee you I saw like 6 groups at Urson Caves or Caverns, and it was working fine over there. So I think there's probably like, they want to wipe, but they're like, we'll just, that server worker, we understand its issues. We can't really fix that now the way it currently is, but once we go into phase 2 and we do a wipe, I think it'll be good, because it's so weird how certain workers, when it's still like as congested, work okay, like work really well. You don't feel the lag at all. Like Citadel of the Steel Bloom. Citadel of the Steel Bloom was actually working pretty damn well comparatively to Highwayman Hills, and there was a shit ton of groups running there. You know what I mean? So I think there's just certain server workers that have particular issues they can't fix until the wipe happens.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's why they lean really heavy into the PTR, because of the fact that, you know, there's a lot of stuff that I think has been on the coding side has been ingrained into, you know, the core of our characters, and that you just changing the back end on a system doesn't fix that. You have to actually do a full wipe. So yeah, it makes perfect sense why. Yeah. Guys, I really hate to cut it short, but my throat is killing me. Like it's so bad right now. It hurts so bad. DA, thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me. I really do appreciate it. I like the transparency that you gave. I think that kind of insight into kind of, you know, I kind of hope, you know, it's kind of sucks, right? Because it's like, I think every guild is going to develop a reputation, you know what I mean? Especially when the live game comes out, right? There's going to be guilds that you're going to love. There's going to be guilds that you're going to hate. There's going to be guilds that you're not going to mind at all. They're just kind of neutral. But I think once the game comes out, hopefully in a couple of years, it's going to be really interesting to see the kind of content, because I've always said this is the Game of Thrones MMO. Drama's part of this game. It's going to happen. It's going to keep happening. But I hope that people can look at it from a more adult perspective and not go too turbo toxic, you know, when it comes to taking shit personally and all that other stuff. And I know people will do things that are going to seem very personal, and maybe do have the intention for it to be personal because I just don't like you or whatever. But I think that's going to be the thing that is going to attract a lot of eyes to this game personally. I really do. Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, guys, like I said, if you want to find DA, I want to put stuff in the bottom of the description of this YouTube video. Go to the Discord. Discord.gg/envious. And then there's enviousgaming.com. Go and check them out there. Guys, you have a great one. We'll see you guys later. And yeah,